Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's tutorial I'm going to be sharing with you how to cut this stylish blouse. So if this is something you like, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button. Let's dive right into today's video. So to start, I've gone ahead to mark my basic measurement, which is my shoulder to bust, under bust, shoulder to waistline, and then to my hip point 7 inches, and after my hip point I added 2 inches after that. So you can go ahead and add more than 3 inches after your hip line. So to get your waist to hip point is about 7 inches. For a much taller person, you will use 8 inches. Now, I'll go ahead to mark my shoulder divided by 2 and add half. My shoulder is 14 divided by 2. I have 7. Adding half makes it 7.5. I'll come down by 1 inch and draw my shoulder slope. So after that, I'll be marking my chest line, and to get that is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. I'll go ahead to draw a line at that point. Mark what I have on the shoulder line, which is 7.5, and I'll go ahead to connect it upwards. Now, I'll divide what I have into 2 at the armhole and I'll mark. After that, I'll go ahead to mark my bust circumference divided by 4, coming by ½ inch at the mid part of my armhole, and I'll just go ahead to connect to draw my armhole curve. So after I'm done doing this, the next step is to go ahead to mark my basic neckline of 3 by 3 inches, which I will be marking on this pattern, and after that I'll go ahead to connect it with my curved rule. After I'm done connecting this with my curved rule, I'm going to mark my dart, which is, to mark your dart, you're going to mark your nipple to nipple divided by 2, and my nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2. I have 3.5. So I'll take this all the way to the hip point and to the lower part of my pattern. So after my hip point I added 2 inches. You can go ahead and add 3 or 4 inches. It totally depends on the length of the blouse that you want. Now I'll just go ahead and draw a straight line at those points. I'll be marking a dart intake of 1 inch, on both sides of my waist, and also go ahead to mark that at my under bust. Now if you're a plus size, you're going to be using 1.5, or if you have a bit busty, you're going to also use 1.5 inches. So I'll connect that and also extend my dart 4 inches to the lower part. So after I'm done doing that, I'm just going to go ahead to divide what I have at my armhole into 2. That part that we marked earlier, you're going to take note of that, and I will go ahead to connect my under bust, my bust to my under bust this way. Then place my curved rule from that point down to my bust point. So this is what I have at this point, and I'll blend it in. I'll be coming out by ½ inch at both sides, and you're going to blend it out or blend it in into the initial line, and this is what I have on both sides. So I mistakenly extended the center line, so I had to go ahead to correct that. So at the line at the lower part, I'll go out by 1 inch at this point, and I'll blend it into my armhole this way, and I will connect. So the reason why I went out by 1 inch, I took that ½ inch dart intake on both sides, and also to make sure that the side going to the waist side or the side of the pattern meets the center when you're joining it. So I'll just go ahead and use my marker to connect the rest of my pattern. After that, we are going to be inserting my body measurement. So after that, I'll mark my waist circumference divided by 4, replace this dart intake and add my sewing allowance. After that, I'll move over to the under bust, mark my under bust circumference divided by 4, measure this dart intake, replace it and add my sewing allowance. At the waistline, you're going to mark your waist circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, replace and add your sewing allowance. At the hip, you mark your hip circumference divided by 4 and add your sewing allowance. So whatever you have on the hip, you're going to take it down to your blouse length or top length this way. So after that, I'll just go ahead to reconnect my pattern, and I'm going to be cutting it out before we go ahead to work on the other part of this pattern. And all the measurements I have here, I will trace it to the other side of my pattern paper. So before doing that, I'll just go ahead to outline this and I'll cut out my pattern. So if you find this tutorial very interesting and educative, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up. If you have any comments or if you have any question, please also leave it at the comment section. So after cutting this, we are going to go ahead to open up our pattern. So I've gone ahead to trace this out and we are going to alter the pattern that we have here. So from my waistline, I'll come down by 3 inches and I'm just going to blend this up, and then I'm going to be drawing out a curve. So it depends on where you want your design to be. So I'll just go down and then come up by ½ inch and reconnect this way. So this is what I have, and then on the other side I'm also going to trace out the other design for the other side of the dress. So from here also I'm going to mark. Now I'm going to be tracing this down to the other side of the pattern paper this way. So to give it a stylish effect, I'm just going to go up by half and I will be connecting this to that side. And this is what I have for the front pattern of this dress. So after this, I'll just go ahead and I will cut out my pattern, and this is what we have for the front pattern, as simple as that. So for this pattern, if you want to add a bust dart, you can also go ahead to do that, but I made this pattern illustration beginner friendly for those that don't really understand where to insert a bust dart on the pattern or the dress. So after I'm done cutting out this pattern, this is what I have, and as you can see, it's very simple and beginner friendly. So now moving to the back pattern, I've gone ahead to mark out all my basic measurement just like we did for the front. The only difference is that I have a zipper for this and my neckline is 3 by 2 inches. So after I'm done doing that, the next step you want to take is to mark your dart intake. So to mark your dart intake is your nipple to nipple divided by 2, and I'll go ahead to mark it all the way to the lower part. So remember, the total length of this dress is from your shoulder to hip point plus extra inches, that is 2 inches, so you can also add 3 to yours. Now after that, I marked a basic dart intake of ½ inch and I will extend it all the way up and take it down. So after I'm done doing this, I'll just go ahead and insert my basic measurement. Now I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4 and add my sewing allowance. There's no dart at that point. I'll extend it to the chest line. I'll mark my waist circumference divided by 4, measure this dart intake, replace it and add my sewing allowance. Now at the hip point, I'll mark my hip circumference divided by 4 and add my sewing allowance. Whatever you have at the hip is what you take to the top length. And also remember that we went up by ½ inch at the blouse length by the side, so you're also going to take note of that for the back pattern. So now I'll just extend this from the waist to the lower part of my pattern this way. Now I'll be coming up about 2.5 or 3 inches from my hip point, and I'll mark ½ inch at the waistline. Now I'll just go ahead and extend this and also take this up. This is to get rid of the bulginess at the back of the dress. Now I'll be cutting this out also, and after this, to create a princess dart effect, I'll just divide my armhole into 2 and connect it for the back. Now I'll just extend this out by ½ inch and reconnect it back to the pattern, just to make sure that when I join my pattern, that side won't be shorter than the center. So I'll just go ahead and outline my darts, and after I'm done doing that, we're going to draw out the lower part of this dress. Now to mark the lower part of this dress, I'm just going to go ahead to come up by ½ inch from that point, and I'll just go ahead to reconnect this to the lower part of my pattern. So after that, I'm done drafting out this particular pattern, and all I'm going to do is just to go ahead to cut this out. So at this point, if you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button. You can also follow me on my other channel, which is Maki's Closet. There I do both drafting and sewing tutorial. And if you have any question regarding this particular pattern illustration, please also leave your question or comment at the comment section. So with this, we have come to the end of today's tutorial, and also join us in our next pattern illustration. Thanks.